And that's why I'll go on to Donato at this point, and to ask you, Donato, is that I know that the IOM plays a key role in advising governments on managing of the borders and things like that. And I have seen at least one area in which this was done, and that was in Cambodia. And I must say, I was a little kind of concerned because that was my first time with this whole, technology and the setup kind of thing of uh, biometrics and things like that, of entry and leaving borders and things like that. This was many years ago, and I was wondering where we are going with this. What is as governments and states look at smuggling as a transnational crime, and I know in our region that is the case, in the Asia region at least. I'm wondering, like Kevin says, is it really a crime? Does it need to be seen as a crime? Or does it need to be, like Kevin is saying, there has to be a different perspective on this, on understanding why people are allowing themselves to be smuggled? Should it be that crime? Let's get your thoughts on this, Donato.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to the Migrant Forum Asia for inviting IOM to be part of this exciting and distinguished panel today. It's a privilege for me to speak to all of you today. To answer to your question, William, yes, why not? This has to be considered a crime because there are a lot of violations not occurring only around the legal framework or on the procedures to enter or sometimes to leave a country. So there are a number of violations that are occurring, but also because when the migrants refer to the irregular, to the organized crime to cross the borders, is just because the legal pathways are either limited, very much limited, or sometimes very hardly accessible. So countries need to work on reaching out the messages, on the reaching out the migrants, on providing the legal pathway procedures and opportunities. We also need to put ourselves in the shoes of the migrants. When you have no choice left behind, your only and your solely objective is to move and change your current situation. If I have the instinct of survive, because in my country, in my old town, in my small town, there are no job opportunities. My family is starving. I cannot send my children at school. I have no other option than moving away. Most probably in one of the many countries outside my borders, there is a country, and most probably more than one, that can accommodate my needs, that can host me, can provide me and give me a job, and I can work and make money to make myself surviving, but also to help my family in surviving. The problem is that I have no means to understand who is this country and what are the legal procedures to reach that country. That is exactly where the criminal network steps in playing the role of facilitating me in linking my needs with the demand of a country or another one. So in the absence or any other opportunity, this is a kind of a shining sun in front of my eyes. So I am very happy that someone is helping me in understanding how to apply visa. I don't even know why this country is asking for a visa. I don't even know what is a passport. That's why we still have a lot of very badly forged passports around. Because when I buy a passport, it's because someone may have told me, Donato, you need this piece of paper to cross the border, and this is exactly what you need. That's why I buy it $1,000, $2,000, $20,000, as Kevin said, because I am deceived and I am convinced that that is the right thing to do. This is exactly the criminal intent that countries and law enforcement agencies have to understand in order to tackle. They also have to think about my perspective as migrant, potential irregular migrants. The smuggling is an illegal business. If we want to fight business, we have to set up a new business, but legal, of course. As far as the legal business is more accessible, more clear than the illegal business, I think that we will raise the bar of the challenges for the smugglers and the organized crime in general.
Thank you, Donato, for that. But let me be a little controversial here, if you will allow me. You yourself have said that it is the instinct to survive, that people have that instinct to survive. You have also said that yes, it is a crime because they are breaking procedures of entry and things like that. We have a GCM objective for which there is no clear direction yet, no discussion yet on GCM Objective 5 on increasing regular pathways. There's nothing that has moved in that in the 2 years that at least I have seen. I may not have seen, so I'll be happy if somebody tells me this is growing, that people are saying more and more. Instead, we are creating more procedures, more protocols, more visa kind of processes kind of thing, which make it difficult for people to enter, and even more difficult to enter for people that have an instinct to survive. It's getting easier, on the other hand, for people who got all the credentials. High-skilled migrants, university degree in forensic science, sure, come across the border. Welcome, red carpet. Engineer who has got skills in building the tallest building in the world, come, sure, we go there. But when it comes to low-wage people, people that have an instinct to survive, then it's all these procedures and all that are, and then we want to put that as a crime kind of thing. Is there something wrong in the rhetoric here? Is there some kind of a distinction that needs to be made somewhere along the? I know it's a tough call, but somewhere I'm saying how do we get a balance between what Kevin just said and what you are saying in terms of procedures, protocols, visa, and smuggling, because of all this procedures and things like that. That is why people choose to smuggle, because they just don't know how to get across. So can you respond to that?
Yes, I wish to have the right answer, the most comprehensive solution to this problem, but I totally agree with you. The discussions and possibilities to facilitate the legal channels is still slow in being addressed properly and systematically. Unfortunately, we are talking about a very complex dimension. So we really do not know exactly how and where the smuggling starts. Labor is one of the main reasons, but we also have a lot of other situations, family reunification, studies, etc., that may also push people in moving and traveling irregularly. And that is exactly, as we say, the entry door for the organized crime. Yes, discussion to facilitate legal pathways still need to be addressed more comprehensively. On one side, we also have to distinguish quite clearly not only the high-skilled or high profile people from the low skilled or low profile people, because the low profile or low skilled people are exactly those that are most in need of the help of the countries. The discussion about the availability of jobs, for example, that is a process that need to be addressed at high level between two or more different countries in order to be sure that no gaps occur. Even here, we have to say something. Sometimes we have countries with a very clear laws and procedures on how to receive labor, seasonal workers, or maybe even long-term workers. But even in this case, the procedure is too broad, too general, and the government does not follow in details the selection of the candidates or the recruitment process. We also need to understand that the organized crime does not wait for people at the border in order to facilitate border crossing. The organized crime is named organized because they are organized. Sorry for repeating and joking with words here. So the countries do not need only to issue laws and procedures, but also systems, legal, of course, legal systems in place, a transparent process in place that need to be monitored by the law enforcement agencies of all the countries involved, starting, and maybe even a little bit earlier, from the selection and the recruitment process. That is exactly another area where IOM is working on with facilitating the legal and transparent and fair recruitment processes.
Great. And I'll come back to you. I'll ask you to think of this follow-up question as well. Is that I said in the beginning, part of the confusion between how we need to look at smuggling differently from trafficking is just simply because of the titling of the Palermo Protocol. I'm wondering if there is any move between IOM that understands migration in a different way, let us say, and the UN ODC mandate. If there is ever is there a move, at least at that high level, to start coming out clearly with, it's something that was put in together. Now let's separate the two so that we can get a better sense of what are the two different issues. Is there a move in that? Is there a dialogue in that? I'll come back to you on that question.